Ah, the Spearman. One of the cheapest units in Age of Empires 4. That doesn't mean you should underestimate them though. They're the definitive anti-cavalry unit, perfect for stopping cavalry charges with their brace ability, or great for forming a protective barrier around siege units. Archers will make quick work of them though, so watch out for their bonus damage. In this video, I'm going to break down every Spearman unit in the game, and show off all the unique bonuses that sets each civilization's spearmen apart. Which civilization has the strongest spearmen? The answer probably isn't what you're thinking. A quick disclaimer, every civ, apart from Japanese, has access to a standard list of blacksmith and university technologies. I won't be highlighting these as we go, but presume these have been researched when we look at the unit stats. We're starting off strong with the Abbasid dynasty, as they have some of the most potent spearmen in the game. Generic in the Dark Age with 80 health and 7 spear damage, a bonus of 17 to cavalry. However, once you hit Feudal Age, things really start to liven up. They have access to the phalanx technology, which doubles the attack range of the Abbasid spearmen. It's great for catching cavalry off guard if they get a bit too close. If you choose the military wing, you'll also get access to boot camp, which provides a 15% health bonus to all Abbasid military infantry units. A very nice boost in feudal, but also a great tech for scaling later into the game. So a fully upgraded feudal age spearman will have 104 health, 1 melee and ranged armor, with 9 spear damage and a bonus of 20 to cavalry. Its reach will be 0.59 tiles rather than the usual 0.29. Nothing specific in the Castle Age, just the standard blacksmith upgrades and veterancy tech. So you get a spearman with 126 health, 2 melee and ranged armor, with 11 spear damage and 23 bonus to cavalry. Once you hit Imperial Age though, you'll be able to research camel support, which along with the other standard Imperial Age technologies, like elite army tactics, you can train one of the strongest spearmen in the game, standing strong with 150 health, 17 damage, with a bonus of 34 to cavalry, and a huge 9 melee armor and 5 ranged armor if you're standing next to a camel. Okay, onto the Abbasid variant civ, the ayyubids. Not as many bonuses for these spearmen, but they do still have some tricks up their sleeve. Standard again in the Dark Age, with 80 health, 7 spear damage and a bonus of 17 to cavalry. From your first age up, you do have access to the Trade Wing Advisors. This will give you access to ayyubids to garrison inside any military production building, and grant 20% increased health to any units produced by that building. However, in this example, I've left that age up until the Imperial Age to show the greatest effect. Once we get to Castle Age, the ayyubids gain access to the Sultan's Mamluks technology. This powerful tech grants 25% increased damage and 20% increased movement speed to any units that have just killed any other unit. A great boost for any spearmen in the front line looking to chase down fleeing enemies. So you get a spearman with 110 health, 2 melee and ranged armor, with 11 spear damage and a bonus of 23 to cavalry. Onto the Imperial Age now, and in comes the Trade Wing Advisors that we mentioned earlier. A lovely boost of 20% extra health from any barracks you may put this unit into. An often overlooked tech also available to the ayyubids is the infantry support tech. Not specifically buffing the spearmen, but it will grant 3 armor to any camels who are in range of a spearman or any other infantry unit. This gives the ayyubids a pretty nice ayyubid influenced spearman with 156 health, 7 melee and 3 ranged armor, with 17 spear damage and a 34 bonus to cavalry. The first of our unique variations on the spearmen comes from the Byzantines. They can produce the limitane, which cost 80 food and 10 wood, so a bit more expensive on the food side but cheaper on the wood than a standard spearman. They have increased health starting with 90 in the Dark Age, and access to a powerful shield wall ability. It decreases movement and attack speed, but greatly increases their durability against incoming ranged attacks, which is traditionally a spearman's main weakness. Just the standard blacksmith upgrades in feudal giving you a limitinate with 100 health, 1 melee and ranged armor, 9 spear damage, and a bonus of 20 to cavalry. There's some potent upgrades coming in the Castle Age. Let's start things off with the Teardrop Shields tech from the blacksmith. This will grant your spearmen 15% increased move speed, which bumps them up to 1.44 tiles a second, and also the penalty for the shield wall ability becomes a little less punishing. If you choose to construct the Cistern of the First Hill, you'll also have access to Pilgrim Flasks, a lovely rapid health over time ability which can be toggled to activate automatically. Once we hit Imperial Age, your Limitinate are looking very strong with 140 health, 7 melee and 3 ranged armor, with a move speed of 1.44 tiles a second, 17 spear damage, and a bonus of 34 to cavalry. Don't forget to put those shields up for the 30% range damage reduction as well. Alright, onto Chinese. The first civ to not really have anything that buffs their spearmen specifically. Looking at a standard Dark Age spearman with 80 health and 7 spear damage, with a bonus of 17 to cavalry. Feudal Age, it's the same deal, just the blacksmith upgrades coming in here. 90 health, 1 melee and ranged armor, 9 spear damage, and plus 20 to cavalry. Once you hit Castle Age, you do have access to 15% increased move speed on all military units. That is once you hit the Yuan dynasty, which requires you to build both the astronomical clock tower and the imperial palace. This gives you a standard 110 health spearman, but with a nice increase to 1.44 tiles per second move speed. The Ming dynasty is available in the Imperial Age after constructing both the Great Wall Gatehouse and the Spirit Way. This will give all your military units a nice 15% health bonus, bringing the Chinese Imperial Spearmen up to a very respectable 150 health, 7 melee and 3 ranged armor, with 17 spear damage and a bonus of 34 to cavalry. With the ability to construct palisade walls and gates with any infantry unit, the Delhi Spearman comes preloaded with extra tricks when compared to the other civilizations. In Dark Age, it's a standard 80 health and the usual 7 damage with a bonus of 17 to cavalry. Once they hit the Feudal Age, and if they've aged up with the Tower of Victory landmark, all military units produced within the influence of this landmark, mosque or madrasa, will gain a nice bonus to their attack speed of 20%, giving the Delhi a Feudal Age Spearman with 90 health, 1 melee and ranged armor, with 1.62 attacks per second, 9 damage with a bonus of 20 to cavalry. Hitting the Castle Age with the Compound of the Defender upgrades those walls and gates that Delhi infantry can construct to the stone variety, giving greater strength and flexibility to the defensive capabilities of this civilization. Forced March is also available in the Castle Age, which grants all infantry an ability to move 100% faster for 10 seconds or until the unit deals damage. A great tool for closing the distance, giving your opponent less time to react. Zeal is the only unique upgrade to come for the Delhi Spearmen in the Imperial Age. Once healed by a scholar, they will gain a very substantial 50% attack speed increase for 3 seconds. This gives the Delhi an Imperial Age Spearman with the ability to construct stone walls, gates and towers, 130 health, 7 melee and 3 ranged armor, 17 spear damage, and a bonus of 34 to cavalry. It's a pretty sad state of affairs when it comes to the English spearmen. So sad in fact that they are non-existent in the Dark Age, and any English player looking to defend will be required to train man-at-arms until they hit the Feudal Age. Even once you do hit Feudal Age, there are no specific spearman bonuses for the English, but they do get access to the very powerful network of castles, which grants 20% attack speed to units and will affect any spearman within range of an appropriate building. That gives the English spearman in Feudal Age 90 health, 1 melee and ranged armor, with 9 spear damage and a plus 20 to cavalry. Hitting the Castle Age allows you to research network of citadels, which will increase the bonus attack speed of your units to 30%. And that's the last of the English techs to affect their spearmen. So you'll have a 110 health, 2 melee, 2 ranged armor spearman with 11 spear damage and a bonus of 23 to cavalry. The Imperial Age is the standard upgrades and techs for all civs, elite spearmen, elite army tactics, and the 4 remaining blacksmith upgrades, and that's it. This gives English probably one of the most standard spearmen in the Imperial Age, with 130 health, 7 melee and 3 ranged armor, 17 spear damage, with a bonus of 34 to cavalry. Okay, on to the French. So, I know we just went through the English spearmen and said that they were fairly basic apart from the buffs from Network of Castles, but would you believe the French has literally nothing that buffs or affects their spearmen? So, not much to say in this segment. Grab a croissant and enjoy. Right, enough of that silliness, it's time to get serious with the Holy Roman Empire. A few bonuses in here, kicking off with Army of the Empire, which grants infantry a 5% increased move speed from the Dark Age and scales to 10% from the Feudal Age onwards. All Pikes is a technology available in the Minework Palace, giving the HRE Spearman an extra 2 damage. Obviously you have to forego the Ark and Chapel if you want this upgrade, so it is used fairly infrequently. If you do go the aggressive Minework route, you'll have a Spearman in the Feudal Age with 90 health, 1 melee and ranged armor, 11 spear damage, and a bonus of 20 to cavalry. I'm going to presume we're making the strongest Spearman possible, so the Castle Age and Imperial Age stats will also include the All Pikes upgrade. So once you've got all the standard blacksmith upgrades, you'll have a Spearman with 110 health, 3 melee and ranged armor, and a move speed of 1.38 tiles a second, 15 spear damage with a plus 23 bonus to cavalry. We can't talk about the HRE without mentioning their prelates. As a core part of any HRE army, you'll want to research the Inspired Warriors technology available from the Castle Age. This will give all military units, including your spearmen, a +1 bonus to their armor, both melee and ranged, and a 15% damage boost. This will give the HRE a final late game spearman with 130 health, 8 melee armor, 4 ranged armor, a move speed of 1.38 tiles a second, and damage values at 22 with a bonus of 34 to cavalry. Okay, time for the Japanese. And as a melee infantry specialist, you wouldn't be wrong in presuming they get access to some pretty strong techs. They have their own line of melee damage upgrades, which starts off in the Dark Age, giving your spearmen an extra +1 to damage. Once you're in the Feudal Age and have upgraded your town centre with Daimyo Manor, you can train one Katana Bannerman. This unit has a 15% attack damage aura, and when coupled with the Age 2 Japanese blacksmith melee tech Hizukuri, you'll have a Feudal Age spearman with 90 health, 1 melee and ranged armor, with 12 damage, and a bonus of 20 to cavalry. Castle Age sees the usual upgrades, including the 3rd Japanese-only melee damage tech, giving them a veteran spearman with 110 health, 2 melee and 2 ranged armor, with 14 spear damage and 23 bonus to cavalry. Hitting Imperial is where things really heat up. The Japanese have their own version of elite army tactics called Oda Tactics. Along with the usual 20% damage spike and +4 melee armor, all infantry get a 20% increased torch damage, perhaps eliminating the need for anti-building siege if you have enough melee troops. Another massive tech in Imperial Age is Nagai Yari, giving the spearman a stronger spear with 20% increased reach and an extra 15% damage to cavalry. This creates another one of the strongest late game spearmen with 130 health, 7 melee armor, 3 ranged armor, a reach of 0.35 tiles, and 21 damage per hit, with a bonus of 38 to cavalry. Stay away from these units with your horses. Well, we looked at French spearmen earlier and were underwhelmed. Sadly, that's still the case for the French variant civ, Jeanne d'Arc. No unique techs here, but Jeanne does have some powerful abilities which can be used to improve her spearman's potency. At level 2, she can consecrate a building, reducing the food cost of units from that building by 25%. Later on, after researching Ordnance Company, consecrate will also reduce wood and gold cost by 25%. I don't think many people are using this ability on a barracks though. Level 2 also grants Divine Restoration, which heals all allies in a 4-tile radius for 30% health. And finally, if you've chosen to be a field commander, you have access to Strength of Heaven, which grants plus 300 hit points, 4 melee and ranged armor, and a 300% damage boost to a single unit. And if you want to use this on a spearman, I'm not going to stand in your way, because that's how you get the strongest spearman in the game, with a ridiculous health pool of 430, 11 melee armor, 7 ranged armor, 50 spear damage, and a hilarious bonus of 101 to cavalry. Onto our second unique version of the spearman, the Donzo. This Malian unique spearman costs 60 food and 30 wood, and comes with a bonus +1 to melee armor. With the ability to throw a javelin every 15 seconds as well, it can work wonders at picking off a few cavalry units before the engagement. The hardened Donzos in Feudal Age have 100 health, 2 melee armor, 1 ranged armor, with 9 spear damage and a +20 against cavalry. Only one tech that specifically affects the spearman, which we'll get into Imperial Age. So in Age 3 you'll have a Donzo with 120 health, 3 melee armor, 2 ranged armor, 11 spear damage and a +23 to cavalry. Once we do hit Imperial Age, you'll have access to the elite upgrade similar to all other civs, but also the ability to research precision training, which gives a very respectable bonus damage to their javelin throw of +6. This will give the Malians a spearman with 140 health, 8 melee armor, 3 ranged armor, 17 spear damage and a +34 to cavalry, and a ranged javelin throw with 19 damage and a bonus of 12 to cavalry. A very strong deterrent to any horses in the late game. Probably one of the most used and relevant spearmen in the Dark Age due to the common tower rush strat. Say that 5 times fast. We have the Mongols. Their spearmen have the standard 80 health and 7 spear damage, but they can be buffed by the Khan's maneuver arrow, granting them a 33% increased move speed. The Khan will also unlock more buffs as we move through the ages. In Feudal Age, the attack speed arrow becomes available, granting ranged units a 50% attack speed increase. Ranged only I guess, so sorry spearmen, pretend you didn't hear that particular whistling arrow. The Age 2 spearman for the Mongols has 90 health, 1 melee and ranged armor, with 9 spear damage and a bonus of 20 to cavalry. Hitting the Castle Age takes the earplugs out of the Mongol spearmen, as they can get a +2 armor buff to melee and ranged from the Khan's defensive arrow. The Cruel Tie is the main buff here. It's one option for the Mongols to reach Castle Age, and will grant an additional 20% damage and 1 health per second for any unit in range. Also in the Castle Age is additional torches, granting +3 torch damage to your veteran spearmen, or +5 if you research the improved version. Imperial Age brings a fairly standard elite spearman for the Mongols. The only possible addition would be improved army tactics, which can grant an extra 10% damage and 2 melee armor. This gives them a spearman with 130 health, 11 melee and 5 ranged armor with the arrow buff, and 22 spear damage with a bonus 44 to cavalry. Our final unique spearman on this list, and it's no pushover, the Gilded Spearman from the Order of the Dragon, taking up double the population space of all other spearmen, with costs and stats to match. 120 food, 40 wood for a beefy 160 health, 1 melee armor and 10 spear damage, with a bonus of 34 already just in Dark Age. In the Feudal Age, your hardened Gilded Spearman will have 180 health, 2 melee armor, 1 ranged armor, with 13 spear damage and a bonus of 40 to cavalry. You can research the Heavy Torches technology. This grants your spearman an area of effect torch throw, which will wreak havoc on tightly packed enemy houses or farms. Just like the HRE, You'll want to make use of your religious units even in battle. Inspired Warriors is available from the Castle Age, and will allow your prelates to buff your military units by 1 melee and ranged armor with a 15% increased damage. The Order of the Dragon have some mighty impressive spearmen in the Imperial Age. Just be careful with them because they're incredibly valuable, hitting 260 health, 9 melee armor, 4 ranged armor, 29 spear damage with a massive 67 bonus to cavalry. From one civ that uses a secondary unit for buffs to another, the Ottoman spearman is a pretty standard one until you factor in their drumming support unit, the meta. The meta is trainable from the stables in the feudal age, or spawning via the meta drums at the Imperial Council. Any units, or in our current case spearmen, who are in the same formation as the meta, will gain 15% increased movement speed, which will be 1.44 tiles a second for the Ottoman spearmen. The meta also has attack drums, which is 15% increased attack speed, +2 melee defense drums, and +1 ranged defense drums. These will all need to be toggled depending on the situation, but for our stat cards here, I've left it on 15% attack speed. So, once you hit the Imperial Age and have a meta or two behind your spearman line, you'll have one with 130 health, 7 melee armor, 3 ranged armor, 17 spear damage, a bonus of 34 to cavalry, attacking at 1.65 attacks per second, and moving at 1.4 tiles per second. Not bad. We seem to have bundled all the civs that use a secondary unit for buffing all together, so up next it's the Rus. They have a very standard spearman with no technologies affecting them specifically, and no buffs even coming online until you're in Castle Age, and have a warrior monk or two on the field. So in Feudal Age your spearman will have 90 health, 1 melee and ranged armor with 9 spear damage, and a bonus of 20 to cavalry. Once you are in the Castle Age, you can use your warrior monks for their ability Saint's Blessing. When your warrior monk attacks a unit, all other units within 2 tiles will gain 2 attack damage and +1 melee and ranged armor for 10 seconds. So make sure you keep those spearmen and monks nice and close together to gain this buff. With Fervor Research 2, that'll give you a veteran spearman with 110 health, 3 melee and ranged armor with 14 spear damage and +23 to cavalry. The Rus have some decent spearmen in Imperial Age, but make sure you've got some warrior monks in the mix. This will give you 130 health, 8 melee and ranged armor, 20 spear damage with a bonus of 34 to cavalry. And so we reach the final civ, until a new DLC drops at least. It's Zushi's Legacy, a civilization with a ton of unique bonuses to them, but very few focused on their spearmen. They have, as far as I can tell, completely generic spearmen all the way until Imperial Age, so your Dark Age spearmen will look like this. Your Feudal Age spearmen look like this. And your Castle Age veteran spearmen are bog standard, with 110 health, 2 melee and ranged armor, 11 spear damage and 23 bonus to cavalry. Once you do reach Imperial Age and construct an Imperial Library, you can research Roar of the Dragon, which gives the Zushi horsemen and spearmen a fire lance when charging. This will give a small area of effect to their charge attack. Just be aware that only 2 out of the 5 technologies can be researched from the library, so choose wisely, and this is probably the weakest one out of them all. The second Imperial Age landmark provides one of 4 passive global bonuses. There are 2 that can affect the spearmen: Divine Haste for 15% increased move speed, or Divine Vitality, which will heal military units out of combat by 2 health per second. And that wraps up every spearman unit in Age of Empires 4. That was a lot of information, so thank you very much if you stuck around to the end. If there's anything I missed, please pop it in the comments. I'll try and pin a compile list that we can use as a reference. Thanks so much for watching. Like the video if you think I deserved it, and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Have a great day.